The Stanford Prison Experiment. How power turns ordinary people into monsters. They were not soldiers, not criminals, not trained guards, just students, volunteers. In 1971, 24 young men agreed to take part in a simple psychological experiment. 2 weeks, no violence, no real danger. But within hours, some of them began shouting, punishing, dominating. Others broke down, cried, and begged to be released. And by day 6, the experiment had to be shut down, not because of physical harm, but because of something much more terrifying. What happens when you give ordinary people unchecked power over others? What happens when no one is watching? Or worse, when everyone is? This is the Stanford Prison Experiment, and it didn't just change psychology. It exposed the monster that may live in all of us. The experiment was designed by Dr. Philip Zimbardo, a respected psychologist at Stanford University. His goal, to study how social roles and environments affect human behavior. He created a simulated prison in the basement of Stanford's psychology building. It had barred doors, a solitary confinement room, and cells labeled with numbers. A fully immersive environment. Volunteers were offered $15 per day to participate. 24 college-aged men passed screenings for psychological stability and physical health. Then, randomly assigned, half as prisoners, half as guards. The rules were simple. No physical violence. The guards were instructed to maintain order. The prisoners were to follow instructions. It was just a simulation, or so they thought. To increase realism, the prisoners were arrested at their homes by real police officers, booked, fingerprinted, blindfolded, and transported to the makeshift prison. Once there, they were stripped, deloused, and given uniforms. Shapeless smocks with ID numbers. No names, just numbers. Their heads were covered with stocking caps. Symbols of submission. No underwear, no dignity. The guards, on the other hand, were given mirrored sunglasses, khaki uniforms, batons, and full control. They were instructed to maintain order, but not told how. That freedom was the first mistake. Zimbardo's intent was observation. What he created was a psychological collapse. Within 24 hours, the guards began asserting dominance. They invented punishments, push-ups, standing in stress positions, withholding food, insults, sleep deprivation. By day 2, prisoners began rebelling. Guards responded with force, not physical violence yet, but psychological warfare. They made prisoners clean toilets with their bare hands, formed alliances, turned prisoners against each other. Some guards became sadistic. They found pleasure in humiliation. They stripped prisoners naked, forced them to simulate sex acts. One prisoner began screaming uncontrollably and was released due to emotional collapse. These guards weren't trained interrogators. They were regular young men, college students. But the moment they were given power without consequences, they changed. Zimbardo, the experimenter, wasn't just watching from the outside. He took on the role of prison superintendent. And with that role, he, too, began to lose objectivity. When prisoners cried for help, he dismissed them. When guards pushed boundaries, he allowed it. He became part of the system he was supposed to study. It wasn't until day 6 that the experiment ended, not because Zimbardo stepped in, but because someone from outside a graduate student saw what was happening and said, "What you're redoing is wrong?" It was only then that Zimbardo realized how far it had gone. Zimbardo later coined the term the Lucifer effect, how good people can be corrupted by evil systems. It's not about individual monsters. It's about ordinary people in positions of unchecked authority. The Stanford Prison Experiment showed that people don't need to be taught cruelty. They just need permission, a role, a uniform, an opportunity. And once you dehumanize someone, once they're no longer a person, but a prisoner, a threat, a number, the line between right and wrong dissolves.